Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful lighted decoupage bottle with a glass flask using um, decoupage glue and a napkin and other supplies that I'll show you along the way. I offer this kit on my website at thdecoratl.com, and you'll get everything pictured here along with a light, a little fairy light strings that will go inside. So your first step is we're going to use a glass and tile medium along with a paintbrush and your bottle. And I'm taking off the top, and I'm going to just squirt on some of this tile medium directly onto the bottle, and I'm painting it on. And the reason that you need this is if you try to paint on glass without using some sort of medium, you will get a result that's not very good. Um, your paint will scratch right off. So the tile medium, I find, gives it a little bit something to adhere to, so it doesn't scratch off as easily. It's a great product. I've been using this same product for years, and it comes in 2-ounce bottles. I also sell this product separately on my website. And you're just painting it on pretty thin coat. Just make sure you get it all over the bottle. And we're going to let this dry. In this case, I let it dry overnight, but probably about an hour. It's going to turn kind of milky. You'll be able to tell when it's dry. If you miss some spots, don't worry about it. It's not a huge deal. It's just so that you get most of the paint covered. So I'm using Ceramcoat paint. This is a Delta product, and I really like the sheen on it. I'm using this sponge, which is going to be a damp sponge. And see, you can see the sheen on that bottle from the tile medium. And that's what it should look like. So what I'm doing is I'm using my sponge to apply the paint, and I'm dabbing it on. Again, it's a damp sponge, and I'm just blotting it on. That gives it kind of, a little bit more texture underneath the napkin once it's dry, and gives it a little bit of transparency too, so that if you put a light inside, that you can actually see the light shining through. When I do decoupage, you always want to use a light color paint, like white or off-white, depending on the background of your napkin. So if the overall background of your napkin is off-white, then you would use an off-white paint. If it's white, you would use a white paint. And that's just so if you miss any spots, it's not as obvious, and you don't have two different colors going on. I could use white here on this project. That would be fine too. But again, I always like to try to use the same base color as the napkin. In this case, we're actually going to use the whole surface of the napkin. Some projects, you actually just cut out little pieces of it and apply little designs over the top of the paint. And some of your paint shows through. But in this case, we're actually going to use the whole top layer of the napkin. And I'll show you that when we get to that part. So after you're done dabbing on your paint, in this project, one coat is totally fine. On other projects, I would do two, but for this project, one coat is fine because, again, you want the light to be able to shine through. You get it on there too thick and too many layers, that light won't shine through. And so I'm dabbing the top as well. It'll take about an hour for this paint to dry. It's acrylic paint. It'll dry quickly. And just make sure you have it nice and covered. Okay. So it should look like that when you're done. All right, so now we're going to start cutting out our design. And I've got this pretty little bicycle napkin here that I'm working with today. I get these on Etsy. There are a couple great sellers on there, but one that I really like is pacificsunset.etsy.com. So check her out. She sells those. I use Collage Pauge. So I use Aleene's Collage Pauge and I use a flat edge brush. I always use matte Collage Pauge. And the reason for that is because the gloss tends to show more of the wrinkles and the imperfections, whereas the matte just gives it a nice, smooth finish. One thing I want to talk about, and I'll mention this a little bit later, but I don't get too obsessed about the wrinkles. Okay, so I'm just laying the design over the top of my bottle and lining it up, lining that bicycle up. The whole bicycle will fit on both the front and the back. These napkins are mirrored imaged. And I'm drawing an outline of the contour of the bottle, leaving about a half inch to 3/4 inch room on the edges. And so I'm just basically cutting out the basic loose shape of the bottle, making sure that I have the whole bicycle image um, kind of centered. These napkins are 3-ply, and I find 3-plies to generally be a good quality. And when you do decoupage, you want to make sure that you're separating so that you're working with just the top layer. And sometimes it's hard to tell, but keep in mind when you pull off the, the 2 layers, you should have 2 layers pulled off and 1 layer remaining, and it should be very transparent and very thin. So I've cut that out, and I really think the hardest part of decoupage is pulling off these layers. But sometimes they can be a little bit tricky. I don't have any special hacks or tips for that. So if you do, let me know in the comments. My son is handing me a chip there. Thank you. He wants to say hello. My kids really like to be involved in some of my projects here. Okay, so I am ready to apply my first round. Um, so I'm grabbing a little bit of glue and I am going to coat the whole thing in a thin layer before I apply the napkin. So before I start, I'm just checking to make sure you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're just brushing it on, just like paint. Nice long thin layer here, applied evenly all over the entire surface. Now when you go to apply the napkin, you get one shot at this. Okay, so you want to be pretty careful about how you lay it down, because if you lay it down incorrectly and you try to pull it up, you could damage your surface. Again, these are very delicate and very thin. And so I'm rubbing it down very gently with my fingers. My fingers are dry, and I'm going to take it and just kind of, now I've got some more Mod Podge or Collage Podge on my brush, and I am going to just seal that down. And now I'm going to take it and put the glue all over the top of the surface here. So when you do this, you're going to see some wrinkles, and it's not a big deal. I actually like the wrinkles. So it's gives it a little bit of character and just makes the product look a little bit more authentic. So that's how I'm doing that. Again, like I said, I don't get too crazy about the wrinkles. Some people, so you'll never see me do a video on how to get a wrinkle-free decoupage finish. Okay. If anything, I'll do one on how to get more. All right, so I'm just applying that all over, as you can see, and really important to let this side of your project dry before attempting to do the other side. You can use a hair dryer, but I actually find it's best if you let it dry on its own, either overnight or, just let it sit for an hour or two. There's my son saying hi. All right, so I'm letting that dry. He wants to say hi again. He's so cute. Okay, so that side's completely dry, and I'm moving on to the next side. And I am going to line up my image so that I get a continuous pattern. These are mirror image napkins. So basically the image is reversed, and I can continue the bushes so it just looks continuous. Now when I glue this side on, there's going to be some overlap on the edges, and that's fine. It's the side of the bottle, so nobody's going to be inspecting the side of the bottle. And again, it looks pretty continuous. So I am just outlining loosely the contour again, the same way I did the first side. And I'll cut that image out as well. If you don't cut enough during this step and you have, some holes when you start to glue it on, you can always wait until it dries and patch it. Take some more napkin, cut out little pieces that coordinate well with the missing spots, and apply it after it's done. Same thing goes for if you accidentally touch it and tear some of the napkin as you're working. You can go in after the fact. I would wait until it's completely dry, and then you can patch some of the spots that might have torn. All right. And again, I think the hardest part of decoupage is getting that one little layer. And so that's what I'm doing here. You can see how thin that is. Look how transparent that is. So, so I'm lining it up, making sure that my image looks cohesive. My windows, it's not going to line up exactly, but unless you're a little bit OCD, which I'm not, you don't need to stress too much about that. Some of you are going to have perfectly lined and matched up bottles, and some of you are not going to. And whatever you have at the end of this product is perfect. So don't stress about those little details, especially if this is your first time doing decoupage. Look, I mean, this is not a, not if you've never done it before, give yourself a little bit of grace and try again. You can always pull off what you have, wait for it to dry, and start over. You can order these napkins on Etsy, like I said. I'll put some links in the comments as well, or in the write-up here, so you know where to find these things and the product names that I'm using and whatnot. All right, so you want a generous amount again as you're applying it, and you're just going over and laying those little pieces down. So I think in some of the kits I'll send out, what I do in class usually is I do a little wood piece to practice on if you've never done it before, so you can get a feel for the technique. So I'll send those out in the kits along with, some other napkins. I don't sell napkins on my website, but I do have other types of decoupage paper. There's a brand that I like a lot. It's called Stamperia. So I have rice paper. I have all the products. I have the glue, the tile medium, along with some other really cool, fun DIY products that I use. I'm a retailer for a company called Prima, so you'll see some of those videos on my website as well. So I am going to also be doing more of these DIY videos along with the kits. I'm offering the step-by-step tutorials for free, and then having the putting the kits together to kind of make it one-stop shopping and make it easier for you. All of these products, if you were to purchase them separately on Amazon, you'd spend about $50 trying to get all these materials together. And I'm offering the kit for right around 30 plus shipping, and you'll get plenty of glue, an 8-ounce thing of glue, 2 ounces of tile medium, and some paint. So you'll be able to do a few projects as well. All right, so I'm just cutting out some napkin here to patch the top of this bottle as well so that I can finish all these little details. Unfortunately, as I was filming this, I went a little bit too far back, so you can't see exactly what I'm doing, but I'm taking the neck of that bottle where I have still the white space showing through, and I'm just applying some little flowers to the top, and I'm doing that on both sides. And so if you're in Atlanta and you want to check out one of my classes, I I usually do 2 classes a month, and I do them from home. So small classes, about 6 people. Um, Depends on what we're doing. Sometimes they fill up quickly, and sometimes I have space, but I try to put them far enough out in advance that if you want to get a spot, you can. And I try to be reasonable and what I ask for these since I do them from home, so I don't have a lot of overhead. And you'll always take home a completed project, so it's a lot of fun. So we've done this as a class. We make some bracelets. We've done some trays. I have a video coming up on some trays using decor transfers. That's a lot of fun. All right, so again, I'm just filling in all the white spaces. And for the very top of the bottle, I'm going to take this bottom part here where there's some texture there. I'm taking that bottom part, cutting out a long strip that's just going to go all the way around the top of that bottle. It will overlap some, that's totally fine. You can layer decoupage, you can overlap it. Um, you can really do just about anything. I have also printed designs on rice paper and use my own images for decoupage. There's really you can get really creative with it, so there's no wrong way to do it. All right, so I'm taking that, I'm wrapping it around, and I'm just going to glue all of it down. And that's pretty much it. I mean, this is an easy project. think the most important thing I can say is if your glue is wet, don't touch it with dry fingers. You can take your fingers and rub them in the glue and mash it down with your fingers if you want. Sometimes I do that, but if you are going to touch your bottle and it's wet, you need to have glue on your fingers. Otherwise, just stick to the paintbrush. It's a nice flat brush. It's got plenty of bristles on it, and it's smooth, so it generally will not rip your napkin unless you're trying to overwork it. Um, Always make sure you have plenty of glue on your brush. And so now I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to put the glue over the whole design. So this product is also a sealer. This isn't dishwasher safe, but you can wipe it down. The surface will be protected. Once this is completely dry, you could even coat it a few more times. You can keep coating this and it will dry completely clear. It's going to be a matte finish. It's going to have some texture to it. And again, you're probably going to get some wrinkles as well, and that's totally fine. Don't stress about the wrinkles. Wrinkles add character. So that's it. And we're going to let this dry and we'll add a light next. So here it is. Here it's all dry, and I'm adding a fairy light to it. This is a warm light. You can get these on Amazon, but if you buy the kit from me, you'll have one of these in here for your bottle. And I'm turning on the light here so you can see what it looks like. And there you go. There's our bottle. So thank you for doing this with me today. I'd love to see how your project turns out. I'm on Instagram at thdecoratl. So please tag me in your project. Would love to see your completed bottles. Thank you for watching.